it is going to be right there just north and west of Russellville. Good evening, everybody. Those of you watching on WNKY, I'm Chris Allen here in the News 40 Weather Center, along with Darius Mack and Micah Henson. We've been covering severe weather tonight on Facebook and social media, but now we're going live because we have a new tornado warning that takes in a good chunk of Logan County and Warren County. It does include the Bowling Green area, and you can hear the sirens are going off. The outdoor warning sirens are being activated now because of this tornado warning. The National Weather Service issuing this, and also for Butler County. Butler County is also involved in this tornado warning, and it's going to continue until 10:15. So included in that tornado warning, Cooperstown, Chandler's Chapel, Auburn, South Union, there's 6880, which would also include Rockfield, Rich Pond, there's 31W, Browning Community, Buffalo Fork, Blue Level. We've got the Delafield Community, Barron River, Plum Springs is also included, Three Springs, Plano, and Alvaton. You're all included in this new tornado warning, as we were just talking about that kink in the line, and evidently, I would say, Darius, the National Weather Service also looked at that and said, it's a little too suspect there. That's a possible tornado.
Yeah, so doesn't necessarily mean that there is a confirmed tornado on the ground, but what we are looking at is where we can find those little kinks, and it can happen right on the leading edge of a gust front. And that's what we've been following so far with this storm. It's actually had a history of producing 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So that's enough to do some damage as far as the wind magnitude goes with this. But also now we're looking at the potential for a spin-up tornado with this. So areas where we kind of see this rotation near Cooperstown and just north of Russellville, where you're kind of seeing those, it's kind of broad, but where we can see those greens and reds meeting together is where we can find that possibility for a tornado. So it's going to be right along the leading edge of that Boeing segment, where we can find, and it's kind of, it's kind of showing that here on the returns as well, where we can kind of see a little bit of that notching there. So again, there towards the Cooperstown area and just north of downtown Russellville is where we can see that potential tornado. So there you see that couplet there as that continues, as the scan just continues to update there. But this is moving east roughly at about 65 miles an hour.
65.
So it's gained some strength with that. And I remember earlier, Chris, you were saying there was more lightning. There's more lightning with this. So that's also indicative that the storm did have some strength here, as it's at least moving into some new territory.
Yeah, that's one of the telltale signs that the storm is strengthening, when you see increasing lightning strikes, and then you see this thing starting to bow. As before we came on the TV side of things, when we were covering this just before we went live on the air, we were watching this and saying, there's a kink there, there's a bow, there's something worth watching there. And then we watched lightning strikes increase exponentially back to the west of that area, and then boom, there we go with the tornado warning. Evidently the Weather Service saw that as well. A few particulars here on that warning. It takes in central Logan, northwestern Simpson, south central Butler, and western Warren County. Again, that's until 10:15. This is a radar indicated tornado, so it's not a confirmed tornado, but you need to treat it as a real tornado, because there could be something there that is hitting the ground and maybe causing some damage. Russellville, I think you're okay. Russellville, the way this is going, Russellville, downtown Russellville, you're okay. But if you just go a little bit north of Russellville along 431, you're not okay. That is where the possible tornado is. And as it heads east, it looks like it may miss Auburn and maybe take in a part of 6880 as it moves into Warren County. I'd say if you're in the Browning community or Rockfield or anywhere in that area along the Logan and Warren County lines, that's where that possible tornado is going to come through. There's Browning, there's Blue Level, Rockfield, Petros, Gasper, even back toward that area. You're in line for that possible tornado as it moves off to the east. They're saying from the Weather Service that it does look like, projecting the timeout as we're doing here, it's going to be close to 10 or just after 10 when that possible tornado makes it into the Bowling Green area. As you can see, it's moving when you get these radar scans, these new updates, it's moving at a pretty good clip. As we mentioned, 65 miles per hour to the east. And so it's moving pretty good. And we may now be able to see, Darius, I don't know if you can get quick access to the Reservoir Hill camera. We may be able to see some lightning now off in the distance and moving this way. In fact, we've got this looking a little more south-southwest. So we should be, this is Reservoir Hill, our AAA Systems live camera. And we may be able to see some lightning here if we give it a second or two off in the distance with the approaching storm. There's some, I just saw some back there behind Cherry Hall that is kind of coming this direction. So you can see the low clouds that we have now as the system approaches. There's some more lightning there in the background as you look. There we go, toward Russellville. This is looking toward Russellville Road in the direction of Rockfield, Browning, and those areas in the south and southwestern Warren County. That's where we have the camera pointed right now, and that is the direction that this storm is coming into Bowling Green. And as you can see, we've got a temperature of 70 degrees. The dew points are still in the 60s, so there's still plenty of available moisture and juice, if you will, to help fuel these storms. And on the leading edge of this, before it gets here, we're probably going to have some very gusty winds, a gust front type situation where the winds can go in excess of 50, even 60 miles per hour. And that's something that we're going to have to watch very closely, because that could do a number. If you're out driving tonight, I would suggest that you try to get in someplace or get to someplace safe, because once that initial line comes in or that possible tornado starts to make some headway into the city of Bowling Green, it's just imperative that you find a safe place to be.
Very important there. And we'll go back to radar just to take another look at the velocity returns here. And so what velocity tells us is the way the winds are moving within the storm. And whenever you see kind of those reds and greens meeting together, especially right along the leading edge of a Boeing segment, which we're still somewhat seeing now just east of Russellville and near the Auburn area. And I'm actually going to circle out the area where we could see the potential rotation. So right in this area here is where we can see the leading edge of the most intense gust, and that's where you can get a possible spin-up tornado. So that's why the National Weather Service office has issued this tornado warning for our area. So this is now into Logan County, east of downtown Russellville. North of Auburn is where we could see that potential rotation. So there is 68 there, and then this is going to cross over into western Warren County there towards the Rockfield community is where this is projected to go. And then eventually across Bowling Green, that does include downtown Bowling Green as well, and then continuing there at least, across downtown Bowling Green. So this goes until about 10:15 p.m. Central Time, where we do have that tornado warning out for the area. And that again includes Logan County and into Warren County, portions of Butler County, and Simpson County as well.
So looking at this, and I was just looking at the radar image that I have, comparing and contrasting this line as it moves in and that little kink in the line. I'm not seeing as much of a kink right now as we did when it was back here north of Russellville. It has kind of become a little more linear and not as notched as it was. You may want to try a couple of different Doppler radar sites. Is that Nashville?
This is Nashville.
Okay,
So
let's try
let's
Hopkinsville.
go to Hopkinsville.
Okay, a little more definition on the Hopkinsville radar. It's a little bit closer. So there's the update. And you notice there's not as much of a notching that's going on. There's still little tiny kinks and bows in there. You see one right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one right there. There's another one, looks like a little bit north of Auburn, right there. That's 6880. So that's a suspect area, and this is a suspect area. Where things are more linear, that's going to be straight line winds. Where you get these little notches, that's where you can have a brief little spin up of a tornado that may not last very long, but it can still do some damage. There's one there, and there's one north of there, just about on the Warren County line. So those are the two that we're watching right now. And then we have the lightning strikes that are still back there, which means this storm still has plenty of energy to work with as it's moving off to the east. And as you know, we've been saying here, 65 miles per hour, that's like when you would go down the interstate in your vehicle. So imagine driving, how long it would take to drive from, say, Auburn or South Union into Bowling Green, 20 minutes maybe, if that long, if you're going 65 miles per hour. But remember, this is going by air and not by road. So things are going to arrive and move a little bit faster. So if you're in the city of Bowling Green and Rockfield, I would say in the Browning community, also Riverside, those communities, South Union, Auburn, you need to be in your shelter space right now because this is a possible tornado. It's not confirmed, but a possible tornado that is headed right our direction. And it's showing signs of at least enough rotation with the leading edge of this gust front that it could produce a small spin-up tornado. These are not the big tornadoes, okay? This is not December of 2021, but they could be the kind of destructive tornadoes that could do some damage with the winds going 80, 90 miles per hour within the actual spin of the tornado, within the actual rotation. If it is touching ground in those places, then it's going to do some damage. But besides that, the main threat tonight has been the straight line damaging wind threat. Yes, we're under a tornado warning, but these are not the big destructive tornadoes that we talked about that have happened before, like in December of 21. These are going to be smaller, they're going to be short-lived, they're going to be wrapped, as you can see, in a lot of rain. There's a lot of rain out ahead of that main line, so you won't be able to see anything. The only way you would be able to tell if there's an actual tornado is by lightning, you just happen to see a funnel, or by power out or by power sparks or big bursts of power as power lines come down and things like that. So don't even try to go out and try to see if there's something going on here. Let us do this work. Let us see what the radar is showing and stay safe and stay indoors until the danger passes. But that tornado warning will continue until 10:15, and it is 10 o'clock right now. And those of you that are just now turning on your TV, maybe to watch the news and to see what's going on, this is live coverage of severe weather at WNKY Bowling Green. I'm Chris Allen, along with Darius Mack and Micah Henson. We've been tracking severe weather all evening. But here in the last few minutes, we've had a brand new tornado warning issued until 10:15. It does take in much of Warren County, parts of Logan County, parts of southern Butler County, and as this possible tornado on the leading edge of this red shaded area, and there you see on the velocities, we see the little kink that's going on there, another one that's going on there, just as it moves out of Logan County, just north of South Union, Rockfield, and Auburn. That is a suspect area that the Weather Service and us, as we've been watching this track off to the east at 65 miles per hour, it has looked a little suspect that there could be a brief spin up of a tornado, and therefore the tornado warning that is now in effect. Micah, are you getting any kind of word from the Weather Service or anybody else out there that has seen anything?
Not that I see. There's only the wind reports, and none of them are exceeding the amount that we are talking about, which is that 60-mile-per-hour wind gust, Bill. We have seen over towards Todd County, towards Christian County, towards Logan County. Those areas have all sustained above 40-mile-per-hour winds here and there on the mezzonettes as we've gone throughout these last 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, Darius, you may want to check mezzonette.
Okay.
And just to see, I'm just curious as to what some of the wind speeds are looking at. There was a really good lightning strike there. That's from Reservoir Hill. Okay, wind gusts, okay, they're not as bad as what we were maybe thinking they would be. But again, it just depends on where the strongest winds are hitting those individual sensors. Remember, the sensors are only, yay big, out in a field somewhere, and they're taking, the anemometers are taking the wind readings. And now I'm hearing, is that rain or wind?
It might have been both.
Might have been both here at the studios downtown in Bowling Green. So some of this leading edge of the winds are starting to punch in now. But some of the strongest winds may not be hitting those individual sensors on the Kentucky Mesonet network, but I can tell you just from what the radar is seeing and from reports that we have had back to the west, there have been wind gusts over 60 miles per hour, and in some cases up to 70. That's going to do a number on tree limbs and anything you have outdoors that could be a loose object, and maybe put out, knock off some power across the area. But this is moving at 65 miles per hour. It is now approaching Blue Level and Crestmore, Delafield in downtown Bowling Green, the Greenwood community, and then of course it is now north of Rockfield and Auburn and moving out of Logan County into western Warren County. And that is why we're keeping an eye on this, because it is a tornado warning as issued by the National Weather Service, and it could be extended. If this thing holds together, it could be extended further east into eastern, central, and eastern Warren County. Right here, it could go east of Plum Springs, up I-65, and out 6880 and 31W, and even part of 165 to the north. If it continues as it shows here, it's moving east, but a little bit northeast as well at that pace, 65 miles per hour. I'm still seeing a lot of lightning back there. In fact, total strikes just within that area, well, it was 11. It just went down to 8, but it is moving at that speed. And so the concern is here, it's going to be right up on us here in just a little bit. So you need to be seeking shelter, and you need to be doing that right now if you live in Bowling Green and Warren County. I did get a report from our news director, Atlee, who said the power has remained on in Russellville.
Okay.
So that's good. And then it looks like there may be some minor wind damage out there in Logan County that could be because of, the strong winds But we're just going to, we've got news folks that are going to maybe verify those reports and see if anything else has popped up.
So we're still following this tornado warning that is out for portions of Logan and Warren County, and as well as for northern Simpson and southern Butler counties. But I will say where we are seeing the strongest of the storm is now entered into western Warren County at this time. So that is just northeast of South Union, and then also just moving into western Warren County near the Rockfield area. Looking at blue level right now, you guys are getting some hard-hitting rain, and we're actually picking that up here at this station.
Yeah, I can hear that.
So we are getting in with that rain.
Let's take a look
right now.
outside if we can. Look at Reservoir Hill or maybe Fountain Square. Yeah, you can see the raindrops. There's pretty good lightning that's going on there. That's the direction everything is coming, from the west-southwest right into the city of Bowling Green. And so that's everything. That's why you're hearing that on the rooftop here at our studios, which is 10th and Chestnut, downtown Bowling Green. We are right down, just right over here is where the station is located. That, of course, the hill at Western and Cherry Hall. So the raindrops and the wind, it's really starting to ramp up now in the city of Bowling Green.
Yeah, really starting to hear that pick up at this time as you're taking that live look from our AAA Systems live cam. Again, located at Reservoir Hill as we're looking towards the west this hour. So you see the campus of Western there. We're going to position it a little bit over towards, say, I think the south and west, or I believe that is actually towards the...
That's toward the west.
Towards the west, okay. So we're positioned more so towards the west. That's the general direction where this storm is coming in from. So we are watching that right now. You really see the rain picking up. You can actually see that distortion on the camera lens with those raindrops that are there. And of course, the frequent lightning that we are getting in at this time. So
yeah, this is why we say stay indoors. Hopefully you're not driving out and about the area right now with this coming in. But if you need verification, here we go. This is all just very heavy rain and very gusty winds. In fact, the worst of the winds are coming right through, according to radar, are coming right through Bowling Green right now. And you can, let's do velocity. Here's Bowling Green. And as you can see, that's the worst of the winds are coming through right now. So you're going to hear it. You're going to hear it blowing very hard where you live. And then, of course, it's blowing the rain, too. So that is, in addition, going to make more noise. And now I'm hearing the worst of the winds right now above us, 63 mile per hour winds estimated. So, yeah, it's rough.
So curious to see if there will be any power outages with this storm. Of course, it still is showing it's a healthy gust front with it. I mean, I can draw this out for you. You can actually see that extending right on top of downtown Bowling Green. And this is all continuing to push towards the east. And then we can actually loop this for you just to show you as that gust front is approaching the area. So right now on top of downtown Bowling Green, you're getting in with some very heavy rain, wind gusts in excess of 60 miles per hour is what radar is estimating as this line is moving in. And we can actually go back to the Reservoir Hill camera as we're watching that rain really fill up our skies this time. So you really see the reduced visibility, you see the lightning out there, and just the intensity of this rainfall as it's moving in with those gusty winds.
Yeah, that's what I was, this is the thing you don't want to be out in. Visibility is going to be near zero. Wind-driven rain. Winds blowing 60 miles per hour plus. You've got lots of lightning and maybe even an embedded tornado, but we're not sure about that. There's been no verification of that, just radar suspicion that there is a tornado. But mainly what we are seeing is just gusty winds and very blinding rainfall. You can't even hardly see the Bowling Green towers.
Yeah, you could see that, you know, minutes ago you could see that, but just to show you just how quickly things have changed as this storm moved in. I mean, a whole lot of rain with this, and of course, wind-driven rain is what's moving in so far. And so that's what we are seeing right now from the Reservoir Hill AAA Systems live cam at this time. And there you see more of those lightning strikes. So still an intense storm as it's moving in, as we still have at least a few more minutes until this tornado warning expires. It looks like about 4 minutes. It's now 10:11. So
Yeah.
so we are, of course, closely watching this storm. We've been closely watching this. If you joined us on Facebook with the broadcast, we've been closely following this storm and watched as it evolved, as it's progressed eastward. This is the same storm that's had a history of producing 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts as far back into western Kentucky. And right now, we, according to radar estimates, still getting winds in excess of 60 miles an hour as this storm is crossing into our area.
The good news out of this, and I know it's making a lot of noise right now, and it has a lot of you that suffer from weather anxiety. And as I've openly talked about many times before, I dealt with the very same thing when I was a kid. And it was one of the reasons why I got into weather and studied weather and now doing weather. But those of you that have that anxious feeling and that scared feeling when something like this blows through, the good news is once this blows through, then we're done. So the leading edge of this is just about now through the city limits of Bowling Green. It still has a few minutes left, but once it's passed, then things calm down after that. So it's not going to do this all night long. It's not going to be something that just keeps coming and keeps coming. It's not. So the good news is once you're past places like Brownsville, Bowling Green, and Woodburn, and Franklin, after that initial line, the very leading edge of that line blows through, then you're just going to have some rain, maybe some rumbles of thunder after that, but the really gusty winds and all that will start to really fall off and die down, just like it has now in Morgantown. It's still raining there, but you're not getting those gusty winds, and you're not getting the tornado threat. It goes away. So that's what I want you to take away from this. I know it's a little scary at times when all this kind of makes all that noise and you're like, what is happening? But once we get past the initial leading edge of that line, you can settle down and relax. No more severe weather after that.
Yeah, and this is all associated with that cold front that is moving through the area. And there you see this line, and I'm actually going to focus closer towards Edmonson County right now, there towards Brownsville. You guys are actually getting in with a Boeing segment there. So you can actually expect some intense gusts right on top of Brownsville this hour. And near Sweden, Windyville, ironically, and it's windy there in Windyville. So this is all moving east this hour. So
there could be some hail
County,
in there.
Oh yeah, especially with those magentas that we're seeing. So that severe thunderstorm warning, it looks like they've added that for Edmondson, Hart, Barron, portions of Allen, Simpson, and Warren counties until 10:45 p.m.
Okay.
So that's where they have that severe thunderstorm warning going until. And notice the tornado warning has expired. So
that's good. That's very good. And we do not have a new tornado warning anywhere. Now, it's still making a lot of noise. We can still hear it. We're located right downtown Bowling Green. Still hearing some thunder, still hearing the rain blowing, the winds gusty, but we're not past it just yet. We're almost there. Let's go to velocity and inspect.
There you go.
There's that line. So once the line moves east, the winds are still a little gusty back here, but they start to settle down, especially once you get back into western Warren County, parts of Logan County and Butler County. The winds start to relax. And so, yeah, we're going to have gusts, 60, 50, 60. There could even be some 70 mile per hour wind gusts. We've had that tonight in locations back to the west. So that's going to happen, and it's going to make a lot of noise. But it doesn't mean necessarily it's a tornado. So, but if you've taken cover and you've listened to us and you've followed along, everything's going to be just fine. We just need to, I know when it's making all this noise that it's kind of hard to concentrate on, hey, what's going to happen? I mean, we're not seeing any real great tornado threat here, but still, anytime we have these lines that bow out like that right there, a little kink in that line could develop, and that's all it takes is where the winds start to push out ahead of the main gust front, and then they start to twist. And that was a very good clap of thunder right there, close by, strike of lightning. So we've got that. We've got several lightning strikes going on, but if a little kink develops here, there could be another tornado warning from that kink in that line further east or northeast. But right now, it's just severe thunderstorm warnings for places including Brownsville, Mammoth Cave, Cub Run, Munfordville, Bonnieville, Horse Cave, Cave City, and even now down to Glasgow. So Glasgow, you're not seeing that just yet, but you will see it just within the next, say, 15 to 20 minutes or so. That gust front is going to come your direction because it's going out 65 right now, and then we'll go out the Cumberland Parkway in 6880 and eventually get into Barron County and the Glasgow area, and even down to Barron River Lake is going to be affected by that. Already we're seeing, looks like a little line maybe trying to form there, 40 mile per hour winds leading out ahead of the main line, which can be 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. So given that, these are all the communities that are still in wait of that line as it comes through. And you can tell, look at that. Have you noticed there with that update, Darius, that it bowed out just a little bit more?
Yeah, and especially there into Edmonson County as the area where I've been kind of focusing, because they're on the leading edge of where we're seeing that bow is where you can find the strongest of those winds. And with radar estimating gusts greater than 60 miles an hour in that area, that does pose that risk for damaging winds. Micah?
Yeah, we are getting some reports on those wind gusts in both of the mesonet locations in northern Warren County and southern Warren County. Towards southern Warren County, closer to where Bowling Green is at, that's where they're getting near 50 mile per hour wind gust and almost near 40 mile per hour wind gust in that northern site. But of course, we're looking towards that 60 to 70 mile per hour range as this has been tagged by the National Weather Service.
Yeah, so I mean, everything that we're seeing is pretty much categorically damaging wind threat number one. And we said that would be the number one threat with this event as it comes through tonight. There are the only problem that we're seeing right now the winds are going to blow and the rain's going to be wind driven and therefore low visibility. If you're out, it's a problem right now because you're not going to be able to see what's going on. And with the rain, the amount of rain that's coming down, we may even have some minor flooding issues, at least some ponding of water on the roadways, the interstates, the parkways. That's going to cause a problem. But it's anytime we get little kinks in that line that's bowing out, that is when you could get a just a brief spin up or tornado. There's one area, Darius, that I want to look at. It is just a little bit east of Woodburn.
Okay, gotcha.
Let's take a closer look there with the velocity. Okay, that's what I was looking at. On my radar that I'm looking at, I've done a contrast and compare other radar platforms, and this keeps popping up right here. There's a little notch, now a little segment that's trying to get going here. That looks like that is the end of 165 as it meets up with 231, that's Scottsville Road. So this would be out toward the Alvaton area, maybe just a little bit north of Alvaton. That's a little suspect area, a little notch that we're seeing right here. We're going to have to watch that because that could be, again, a place where one of these brief tornadoes try to spin up. So if we get a warning with that, that's what that is. But that is southeast of Bowling Green, and that's heading toward Allen County. There is Barren River Lake area, and the Barren River as it runs into the Green River, of course, here in Bowling Green, a little bit further west. But that little kink right there is suspect.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, and those are the features that, that you have to look at or look for possible spin-ups. And so, not to say that that's what's happening, but that's something that we'll have to closely follow, especially given the amount of shear that in the environment that we do have.
I'm seeing it. Well, let me get on the other side of it here. I'm seeing this a little bit more now. The other radar that I'm looking at is showing this and this as possible little spin-ups here, even though we don't have a warning on it. I think there's something happening here just north. That would be north of Alvaton, and probably as you go on up toward, say, you get into the eastern side of Warren County toward the Allen County line and toward the Barren River. That is where that is. So Alvaton especially, but you get a little bit further north. There's Plum Springs, and that's I-65. So it would be in that area like roadways like 961 would be one. There we go. Claypool, Green Hill, Hardcastle, Motley, Martinsville, which is right on the border. That's on the Barren River, on the border of Warren and Allen counties. But it's right in there that is a possible something that's trying to get together. It's broad, but there's a kink there, and that's all night long. That's where we've seen these little spin-ups. So we'll watch that. We'll continue to watch.
I certainly have to watch those. And again, our main risk that we're following so far is the risk for damaging winds. And of course, with that tornado watch that is out, let's show just kind of that tornado watch. So it looks like areas towards north and west, that tornado watch has been shaved off for those communities. And I do anticipate once this line gets through here, I know it says that there's a tornado watch until about 3 a.m. But once this line gets through here, we should expect the counties to be shaved off. Further north and west, you'll expect to be out of that tornado watch. Further east, with the remaining line, will remain under that tornado watch. But again, our main threat is this line that's moving in right now. Notice on the back end of this, we don't see any severe warnings. In fact, we don't really see. We still see rain, but
the watch has been shaved off too.
Yeah. So that's what we are following so far. with this line. Again, it is producing some considerable winds in excess of 57 miles an hour, so that's enough to knock down trees and power lines. And that is, again, continuing to press east. So it looks like right on the doorstep of Munfordville, you guys are about to get in with some very gusty conditions and heavy rain at this time. Mammoth Cave area seeing those heavy raindrops, even some small hail embedded with this line of storms, perhaps near the Smiths Grove areas where we're seeing those magenta colors on radar. So that's indicative of potential areas for hail with this storm. Back to velocity, just to show you where that gust front is. So I'm going to draw this out, and again, that leading edge, and it's right along this area. So just west of Horse Cave, just west of Munfordville, where we are finding those stronger gusts. We can pull up at least what radar may be estimating. So radar's estimating anywhere in excess of 60 mile per hour wind gust is what we're seeing with that Boeing segment. So that's in portions of Edmonson County, there into Hart County and northeastern Warren County.
We're starting to get a little range folding going on here. You may have to go to the Louisville
Let's see here.
site and then go to velocity to get, yeah.
There we go.
So there you see, there is that gust front. Now, there's still some little bitty kinks in there, but so far, no warnings, but watch out, Park City, Cave City, Horse Cave, all along 31E, 31W, and then as you head up toward Munfordville into Hart County, of course, that's where that line is about to come through. Here is the Boeing segment, though, south of Cave City, east of Smiths Grove, along 6880, the Cumberland Parkway, and then all of that is going to move toward Glasgow. So Glasgow, if you're watching right now, you need to be aware that that line, that intense line that we just had here at the station a few minutes ago, downtown Bowling Green, it's headed your direction. And Glasgow itself, the city limits, are under the severe thunderstorm warning. Lightning strikes have started to go down a little bit, but we've seen this happen a few times tonight where the lightning strikes go down and it seems the intensity of the storm goes down, but then it blows back up again. They just resurge and regenerate. I am, though, seeing, Darius, this is good to see, more of that activity out ahead of the main line that is really starting to grow now. And what will happen is this main line will start to merge with this, and it just becomes one big area of rain, heavy rain and thunderstorm activity. That's not to say that, you know, you see some warnings with this up toward Danville and now I-75, but notice east of our area, all of this is a severe thunderstorm watch and not a tornado watch, and that's because by the time all of this merges and comes together over parts of central and eastern Kentucky, it is going to be a bit weaker, and there's still that gusty wind threat or damaging wind threat, but less of a tornado threat further east.
And that is certainly good news there, is that areas further east are under a severe thunderstorm watch, so that is indicative that this line is weakening. And we're also seeing fewer lightning strikes, but as you mentioned, we kind of see some of those lightning strikes pulse up a bit more and then kind of die down a little bit. But one thing for certain is that further towards the west, say towards Owensboro, the Elkton area, Russellville even, we're starting to see just more in the way of just general showers. And so the leading edge of this line now essentially right on top of Munfordville and now approaching Barron County, eastern Warren County, and there into portions of Simpson County. It's approaching Allen County here in just the next little bit, where you guys are about to get in with the leading edge of that line. That's where you'll find the greatest threat for the severe weather tonight.
Okay, Micah, you have anything new?
I mean, we keep looking towards that severe thunderstorm warning. Of course, those areas behind this are looking to be a lot more calm. They're staying below 20-mile-per-hour wind gusts. But up ahead of this, I mean, we've got a lot of people asking about Barron County, asking about Hart County. It's, of course, no tornado warning at this point. Severe thunderstorm warning continues on until 10:45. So just keeping in mind that, yes, still stay in a safe place. Damaging winds still a factor here, but no tornado warning at this moment.
Yeah, let's let's switch back to either Nashville or Hopkinsville radar. And I'm seeing, yeah, there's still a definite bowing segment there from the Caveland area and down toward Glasgow. Glasgow, you're about to get hit with the leading edge of this intense line of thunderstorms, wind-driven rain, all of that. The southern edge of that is starting to look a little less organized. More in the way of just thunderstorm clusters. The line kind of breaks up a little bit. That's not to say it's less severe, but it is showing some ragged edges and things like that down toward Franklin and Adairville, and then of course once you get over into Tennessee. So that's good, but this is indeed the strongest part of the storm right here from Bonneville, Munfordville, actually east of that area now, probably more into the Hardyville area, which is east of that area, and then stretching just east of Horse Cave, Cave City, Park City, now moving into Glasgow. So Glasgow, you're next as far as getting the worst of the weather. Very well wind-driven rain. I mean, it's blinding. It's, visibility gets to near zero in this case, with the winds blowing at 50 to 60 miles per hour or greater, and then the rain comes down, you can't see to drive. And then on top of that, you get a lot of ponding and standing water on the roadways. That's going to cause hydroplaning. It's going to cause some big problems. Mm-hmm. So same goes for down at Barron River Lake, Scottsville. You're going to be in line with this same system that came through Bowling Green. It is headed your way.
So there's that line as it's continuing to move east. And again, we are seeing that Boeing segment extending through portions of Hart County, near Cave City, and approaching Glasgow at this time. So it's right along this area where you'll find those stronger wind gusts with this segment of storm. So that Boeing segment, as winds are gusting out ahead of it, I mean, they may gust in excess of 60 miles per hour towards the Cave City area and approaching into Glasgow at this time. So that's what we're following with that severe thunderstorm warning that goes until 10:45 Central Time. So you got about another 10 minutes or so, 11 minutes or so before this warning expires. But we'll see if this gets extended for areas like Metcalfe County and Greene County as this line still continues to progress eastward.
Let's take a look outside, just out of curiosity, to see how it looks from the cameras. AAA Systems live camera from Reservoir Hill. We can see the city of Bowling Green again. It's still raining, and we're still hearing thunder, seeing lightning occasionally, but nothing as rough as it was 20, 30 minutes ago there. You see still some pretty good lightning strikes that are going on. Now this, once you get past the main line, you're still going to have a time here of rain coming down, some lightning, some thunder, but as far as Bowling Green, your severe weather threat is done. And anywhere that's west of Bowling Green, your severe weather threat is over. You still may hear some thunder for a little bit and get some rain, maybe even hear a gust of wind or two, but as far as severe weather, you're done. You can go to bed and not worry about it. So as this line, though, continues to push east, we're going to have to remain a little more vigilant as to the gust front and to the possibility of a little brief spin up. It's a possibility still as that line continues to move east. But Bowling Green, you're looking a lot better now. Still some rumbles of thunder, flashes of lightning, still some brief moderate to heavy rain, but that'll begin to subside now that we've got the main line east of us, and so you can relax a little bit more. Temperature 69 degrees. The temperature hasn't gone down that much
Let's
yet.
check out those
You may want to
temperatures.
look at, yeah, there we go. Now look what's happening. This is another sign the cold front is coming through, as we're 69 right now in Bowling Green at the Mesonet sensor here in town, but then you go up to Hartford in Ohio County, it's 57, and Litchfield has fallen to 56. But then you go to Munfordville, and it's almost 70. And I bet if you show the dew points, that you would also start to see a difference in the atmosphere. And look, there we go. See, here we are with all those 60-degree dew points, which helped fuel all of these thunderstorms and some of the tornado warnings and things like that. But once you get past that main line, look at how the dew points start to fall off into the 50s. And some of these will start to fall even into the 40s as we get on into late night tonight, early tomorrow morning. The wind will start to die down here in the next few hours. The dew points will continue to fall. The temperatures are going to begin to fall as well, and everything will stabilize. So where we've got the rough stuff right now is still where we've got these very potent, very juicy, if you will, dew points and the available moisture. But once we get past that line, things start to relax, as you can see, back to the north and west. That's why I say once that main line passes and all the noise and the rough stuff, that right there, once that passes your house, you can go to bed and relax and know that you're not going to see any more in the way of severe weather.
Can we look a little further into that line that's crossing the Kentucky and Tennessee border right now into
Oh,
Franklin?
yeah, I see that.
Oh, wow. So,
That's
yeah.
a pretty good Boeing segment.
Yeah, they're into Robertson County, they're into Tennessee, and let's just check velocity here just to see if there's anything. Yeah, definitely picking up with some robust gusts with this storm that is into northern Tennessee, near the Kentucky-Tennessee border. Here is Simpson County, so there's the community of Franklin, but this is into Tennessee this hour. We pull up
And a lot of lightning
query.
strikes, too.
Yeah, and it's estimating, at least by radar, it's estimating winds in excess of 60, possibly 60 to 70 mile per hour winds with this. And so it looks, definitely looks like a strong storm, a strong Boeing storm that is there just along the Kentucky-Tennessee border that would cross over into Simpson County there. So we are.
Is it moving east or northeast?
It looks like it is moving. Let's loop this. It
Yeah,
looks
loop
like it
it.
is moving east.
Yeah, it looks like it's
So,
due
yeah.
east.
But not to say that there could be a part of southern,
Yeah.
maybe there's into southern Simpson County there that may
That's
get in with some gusty
65
conditions.
and 31W.
Yeah.
So it's going to cross right over those areas. In between Portland and Franklin. So most everybody knows where that is. The Mint is located there. The horse track and all of that, you know where we're talking about. It's crossing right there over that area. Mitchellville is right on the Tennessee-Kentucky border, just outside of the city limits of Portland. And that's 31W and 65 as you go south toward Nashville. So that's where we're seeing that Boeing segment. And it looks like there may be some embedded hail
Yeah.
included in that.
Yeah, we were seeing those, again, those magentas and those purples indicative of where you may find hail in that storm. So a hail-embedded storm with intense wind gust that is pushing east this hour. So that is into southern portions of Simpson County, northern Tennessee there. I believe this is Sumner County, Tennessee.
Yes.
So those areas definitely dealing with the brunt of this storm right now, and right on I-65 actually. So that's what that looks like. So that is pushing east. Let's put a storm track. Let me pull up velocity first, and then we will pull up a storm track for this particular storm. And this line has generally been moving towards the east. Put it right around roughly 55 miles an hour there. So within these areas, that does include southern Simpson County there. So that's Peden Mill, Alonzo, Bournes Ford area. Those communities may be in the path of that storm that's generating some robust gusts there into northern Tennessee, there into Sumner County.
Yeah, communities like New Row that's in Allen County. So Alonzo is the same. That's some of those places. Alonzo's right there on the Tennessee border, but as you go on the other side, you've got places, well, there's Scottsville, which is in line with some of this. Then you've got Gold City. That's as you're heading south and east of the Bowling Green area. You go out, you can go out that direction to even go toward, if you want to go toward Franklin, some of the highways. 626 Plano Road splits off 585 as it goes through Gold City, and that goes on into Franklin and kind of follows parallel to 65. So in those areas, that's where you're getting some of the heaviest of the rain and strongest winds going on right now. Scottsville, you're just getting rain at the moment, but your turn is coming with this part of the system, and maybe even the one we were talking about down toward Portland and Mitchellville, Tennessee on the border. That these two may lock up together or merge together and move off to the north and east and affect the Scottsville-Allen County area here shortly.
Yeah, so we'll see how this all comes together as this line continues to push east. And wow, yeah, this thing is not only impacting Kentucky, but of course across Tennessee. And Tennessee, for them, they're getting numerous warnings there, even
tornado
warnings there into Tennessee near the Nashville area. So if you have friends or family in the Nashville area, just give them a heads up that this line of storms, intense line of storms, is headed in their general direction there.
There's it looks like a confirmed tornado maybe?
It does appear that.
Looks like that would be Dixon County, or just west of Dixon County, Waverly, I'm sorry. There's Dixon, and that would be more near McEwen, Gorman, there's Waverly. So in that general area, it doesn't, you'd have to go to the Nashville radar, I guess, and it's hard to see from this vantage point, but yeah. So they're looking at, yeah, there's a little couplet.
They have extended the severe thunderstorm warning towards our area over towards Adair, Barron, Greene, Hart, Metcalfe, and Taylor counties in Kentucky.
Okay.
So that is part of that line that we have been following. Yeah.
Moving
so we're
through Glasgow, yeah.
right now on top of Glasgow and now to Greene County, eastern Hart County there into the Hardyville area, and now into northwestern, or really, I should just say western Metcalfe County, but it is approaching Edmonton this hour, and small northern section there of Monroe County included in
You
that.
may have to switch to the
thunderstorm
Louisville
warning.
radar to
So-
get better definition. Well, it's sort of in between two of the Doppler sites, but yeah, there's Greensburg. Greensburg, you're about to get that same gust front that came through here in Bowling Green, and Glasgow's getting it right now. And then Edmonton, you're next. You're actually getting some pre-gust activity, or outside of that gust front, you're getting some activity that's out, pushing out ahead of it. Again, as I was explaining earlier, a lot of these gust fronts tend to push out a rush of cooler air down to the ground as these things are moving in one direction to the east. But sometimes, if there's enough energy, we can get that lift back up into the atmosphere, and new cells begin to form way out ahead of the main gust front. And that's what's happening here. Columbia, Adair County is getting it. Edmonton is getting some of that. There's a couple of lightning strikes in there, not too many. But this is all kind of out ahead of that main gust front. So even though you're getting rain and maybe thunder and some wind right now, the worst of the wind is still just to your west. So don't let your guard down at this point, because that's the same kind of forceful wind that came through here about 30 minutes ago is still yet to come through your area.
So, and again, this is that radar just updated, and this is all pressing due east, it looks like, this hour. So across Greene County there into Metcalfe County and approaching Adair County there. So Columbia about to get in with this line of storms with that severe thunderstorm warning that goes until about 11:15 p.m. Central Time.
Yeah, and then Central Time, you're correct. Some of the other counties to the north and west, Hardin, Ohio, some of those have now been shaved out of the tornado watch. So yeah, there we go. There's Hardin, there's Breckenridge, there's Ohio County, even though you still have some flood advisories going on there. Because of the heavy rain, you've been shaved out of the tornado watch. So has Muhlenberg, Todd, and Christian counties. You're now out of the tornado watch. You're well west of the main line of activity, so there's no longer any kind of severe weather threat. You can go to bed, sleep tight, and know that there's no issue with any of that. This is looking at, now this is something we haven't looked at a lot tonight, but this is storm shear. We were talking about shear a little bit earlier. Shear is basically the changing of wind with direction and height. So where there is more shear, there's going to be more rotation, there's going to be more spin in the atmosphere. And where there is spin is where you can possibly get a brief spin up, and it's right there on the leading edge of the gust front. And that is where we've seen any tornado warning that has come out this evening has been right there along the leading edge of the gust front. And that is where the best shear, there it is, all lined up and bowing out to the east. And that is because of the force of the wind going in one direction and just pushing out to the east. If you get a little kink in that line, or where the winds push out just a little bit ahead of the main line, you can get a little twist, you can get a little spin because of the shear, and that can cause a brief tornado, not a very strong tornado, but something that lasts maybe a few minutes. If it even touches the ground, it could do some limited damage, but in this case, we have not heard of any damage at all from a possible tornado. If there's any damage out there, it would be mainly from the straight line winds that we have been seeing pretty much all evening, and even back to the west.
Yeah, and we've been following this all night as this storm, these line of storms have been moving through, and so we've been dealing with this at least for, I guess, a couple of hours so far in our area as this line is pressing towards the east. So the leading edge of this, you can actually kind of see how it's starting to, at least what's out ahead of it, may start to to meet together here in just the next little bit.
Yeah.
And as it does so, that will be somewhat of a sign of this line beginning to weaken just a tad. And a way to indicate that is notice areas east, across eastern Kentucky, under a severe thunderstorm watch, as opposed to dealing with a tornado watch.
Right. And we're, you know, when we see this evening, when we've seen the best energy be far to the west of us, and now it's to the south of us, the better energy has now shifted further south into Middle Tennessee, and that's where there are numerous warnings going on, and even tornado warnings that are going on south and west of Nashville. And usually in these cases, and we've seen it happen over and over again, once the energy is spent here, it shifts somewhere else, especially on a big system like this. And now the energy has shifted further south, and that will tend to rob our area of southern Kentucky from the best potential energy. And that means a general weakening of all these storms as they continue to push off to the east. We've seen it happen already 3 or 4 times just this spring, and this is another indication of that. This has been, I would say, probably the strongest out of the last 3 or 4 systems that have come through. But even at that, this has not been a big tornado threat. For us, anyway, it has not been. There may have been a couple of those little spin-ups, but there has not been anything large. And remember, we were put under that level 3 enhanced risk, and it was almost, what, a week?
Yeah,
We talked about this for an entire week.
Yeah, within a week in advance, and it's good to get a heads up so people can be aware of what to expect. So,
Yeah, the potential was there if the conditions, if all the conditions had been right. The potential was there for us to have even long track tornadoes and, you know, just a little more in the way of damaging wind than what we've experienced so far. But thankfully, that has not been the case tonight. We had a lot of energy spent west of us in places like Missouri and Arkansas, and then that main area of the strongest storms has now shifted down into Middle Tennessee, and they're getting the worst of the weather now, and that will continue to push south and east as we go through the night. This is not going to come back up into Kentucky. This is all with the line moving, but the individual cells are pushing a little bit more south and east away from us, even though